we turn to Mary Kay Cabot from the Plain Dealer in Cleveland.com. Make sure you read her every day. She has all kinds of great stuff, and she is right now on the Fan Hotline. Hi, Mary Kay. How are you?
I'm great, guys. How you doing?
Hi, Mary Kay.
We are doing well. Do you have any insight on David Bell? What's going on there, and why he's not on the roster right now?
Well, it's not exactly the dislocated hip. It could be related in some way, but this is a different issue. And when we get a chance to talk to Kevin Stefanski today, we'll be able to ask him about that. But right now, there are really no details forthcoming about David. But as I've written a couple times, I think there's a pretty good chance we're not going to see him for a little while.
Gotcha.
And with that thought in mind, Mary Kay, the weakest position on the team, in theory, becomes even weaker because you were hoping David Bell might be able to step in and do something. Are they okay with that, apparently?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've kind of known for a little while that this was trending in this direction. And so, yeah, I think they were prepared for it. They've got a lot of really good young receivers, so they can get through camp. They can get through their two spotting really well with all the young guys that they have on this roster. So they'll be okay from that standpoint. And then if they feel like they need to add another more experienced receiver as time goes along, they'll keep their eyes peeled for that.
All right, Mary Kay, let's have the call to the post. Give us your, as they enter the gates, give us the four quarterbacks in order.
The four horsemen.
Yes.
I would say I wrote this the other day that I think that Kenny Pickett perhaps still has a slight edge heading in, but that is I'm only going by really what they were doing in minicamp and OTAs. If they jumbled that up, we don't know about it yet. So the first thing that happens today is we will talk to some players, not the quarterbacks today. We will talk to Myles Garrett a little bit later today. Everything starts late today and tomorrow. So we'll talk to Myles and then a couple other guys, Denzel Ward, and then we'll talk to Kevin Stefanski and we'll get a better idea. We don't watch practice until 4:30 today.
Ooh.
We have to wait until 4:30 to see who is doing what. But in the early going, they're still going to be doing so much two spotting on the two different fields with concurrent QB drills and passing drills and 7-on-7s going on. That it might not be easy to see exactly what they're thinking in terms of the imaginary depth chart. I don't think that will really begin to take shape until a couple of weeks from now.
So is it Pickett, Flacco, then what?
Well, yeah, I would go Pickett and Flacco, who have the best chance of starting week one at this moment, and then Dillon and then Shedeur.
Do you think it'll be telling when we see, and as you said, it's going to be tough when they're spreading these guys out and two guys on each field and everything else. Will it be telling when they finally start to roll out quarterbacks, maybe in a specific order for practice as to who the starter will be? I would think so.
Well, I've been saying this all along. Really, I think the flashpoint, the time to watch, is what goes on when they are in Philadelphia practicing against the Eagles for those two joint practices, because I think that's when they really have to see what their top contenders can do against a Super Bowl champion defense. So I think that's really a point to watch right there, because I think what's going to happen is you'll probably see Kenny and Joe taking most of those starting reps in those two practices. And then I think Dillon and Shedeur will probably split the game. That's just my guess at this point. But that's basically what they have done in the past. They rest the veterans a lot after they practice so hard against the starters in those two practices. But once they get home from Philadelphia, it's my opinion that they really have to know, they have to have a pretty good idea of who their starter is going to be, because it's go time after that. The season starts within 3 weeks after that, and you've got to get these guys ready to play.
If you're Kevin Stefanski, what is your demeanor heading into this thing? Should he be looking over his shoulder, worried about having to get every win? Should he just, I mean, how do you approach the season if you're Kevin Stefanski?
Well, first of all, they hired Kevin Stefanski for his unflappable nature in the beginning. So he is not someone that you have to worry about from that standpoint in terms of him looking over his shoulder and worrying about those kinds of things and outside noise and social media and hot seats and what people are saying about him. That is not how he rolls. That's not how he operates. So he will go out there and do what he's always done and do this job to the best of his ability. I know he's excited about this season. I know he's excited about his staff. They're really excited about the guys that they assembled to get this offense up and running again in terms of Tommy at coordinator. And obviously you've got Mike Bloomgren coaching the offensive line and some other changes. And I think that he feels really, really comfortable with what he has there. And then again, as we've talked about so many times, this is a fact-finding mission. Do they have their quarterback of the future on the roster, or do they have to draft that guy next year in the first round?
Mary Kay Cabot joining us, plaindealercleveland.com. Mary Kay, I think we're all thinking that this offense is going to look more like what Kevin Stefanski's offense used to look like. Do you think that's fair? And do you see any other twists with Tommy Rees and that Kevin might put in this year?
Well, I think it's going to be dependent in part on who the starting quarterback is. You can do different things with the different quarterbacks. If you have Joe Flacco in there, you're not going to use a lot of quarterback movement. You're going to focus a lot on explosive plays, hoping that he can cut down on those interceptions. If you have Kenny Pickett in there, then you can use his athleticism and his mobility. And you can run some RPOs and keepers and all kinds of different things that you can do with a more mobile quarterback. Dylan, he's got a very well-rounded skill set. And then to a certain extent, same thing with Shador. There's nothing that he really can't do, but he's also not extremely mobile. So it's not going to be the same apples to apples between like a Shador and a Kenny. But Dylan does have some of that mobility as well. So I think when you look at it from that standpoint, it's going to come down to who they decide to start at quarterback and what the offense will look like, tailored around that player's strengths. And I think that Tommy brings a little bit of a different element. He's bringing some of that college game. He's bringing some of those college concepts. And so I'm sure he would love to be able to utilize some of that stuff with a more mobile quarterback.
Mary Kay, let's talk about the defense for a second. Mason Graham and Carson Swester, but two rookies that legitimately have a shot and probably should be starters this year. Your thoughts on that and having two rookie starters on D?
I'm looking forward to seeing those guys, and I can't wait to see them when the pads first come on, which I don't think is going to be until next Wednesday. So looking forward to seeing that. Now, unfortunately, as I've been writing and as the Browns announced yesterday too, that Mike Hall is not going to be in there yet with Mason Graham, and that's going to be the big payoff when you get to see those two guys in there together, wreaking havoc, getting to the quarterback. But I think we're going to have to wait a little bit at least to see when Mike Hall is going to get back there, because he's starting on PUP. But that'll be exciting when those two guys can get in there together. And that's what it's all about, just getting that push up the middle, see quarterback, get quarterback. Carson, he should bring some of those JOK elements to the table. There's a lot that he can do from a coverage standpoint. He can blitz. He can do a lot of things. He's a good hustling tackler. So looking forward to seeing him as well. He's a very smart player. And I think those guys represent a nice big upgrade on defense.
Mary Kay, how do you see the linebackers lining up? Carson in the middle?
Yes, I would say Carson in the middle, but all these guys have the versatility to do all the different positions. So they'll find the three best guys to get out there when they have three on the field. And sometimes they won't have three on the field. Sometimes they'll have two. Sometimes maybe they'll even have one, and they'll do some different things with their safeties. And they'll do some different things with their defensive linemen. But for the most part, I think you'll see Carson out there a lot. I think you'll see Jordan Hicks. I think you'll see Jerome Baker. And then you got some young guys that are going to be vying for playing time in Buki Watson and Mohamed Diabate and some of these other young guys.
Devin Bush's situation, is he going to be okay?
Well, he's going to report, and we'll have to see how it plays out. He might end up with a suspension from the NFL too. We don't know about that yet. The Browns have been kind of mum on what they think is going to happen with these guys. So really hard to say, but Devin participated in OTAs and minicamp, so I expect him to be out there practicing today.
America, I don't know if you just alluded to it, but maybe you did a little bit. Give me the player that isn't on someone who's a fan, it's not front of mind, not a starter, but a guy that ends up becoming like the camp darling. We always have that every year. anybody you keep your eyes out for on that?
The camp darling.
You know what I'm saying? Like somebody who gets hot during camp, you're like, oh, this guy's like, Jamari Thrash kind of was the guy for me last year like that. I was like, wow.
What was
all
he
right.
ever, Mary Kay?
Well, I just like the way he plays. I think he's an exciting player and has the
And
opportunity
he
to be
could
that.
be actually pretty good this year.
Yeah.
We hope.
And
We
so,
hope.
I mean, it could be Jamari Thrash again this year. I don't know, but give me a guy that you keep your eye on, fans, that you might be like, this guy is a keeper.
Well, you can put Jamari Thrash into that category again this year. He had a really nice spring. And as you mentioned, with David Bell out, this presents more opportunities for some of these other receivers. But also Harold Fannin. I mean, you've got to watch Harold Fannin. He's really good. And they're going to play a lot of 2 tight end sets. And Harold Fannin is going to make plenty of noise in this camp. He is definitely somebody to watch. And when we talk about the receivers, you have to factor in Harold and David because they are part of the receiving corps, basically, or they're part of the pass catching corps. And so those guys are going to loom very, very large. The other one, keep an eye on Dylan Sampson. With Quinshaw not being out there right now, Dylan is going to have more of an opportunity. And I also think that Jerome Ford is going to say, hey, look at me. Don't forget about me. They went out, they drafted 2 running backs, and I think that's going to be a motivating factor for him.
Mary Kay, I like Cedric Tillman a lot, and I love what he did when Jameis was throwing him the football. And then, unfortunately, the concussion kept him from building on that. How do you see him? Do you think that the games with Jameis were a glimpse of what's ahead, or were they an aberration?
No, I do think that they were a glimpse of what's ahead. And I think with these young guys, you see the lights come on more and more every year in their first couple of years. And I think that'll be the same with Cedric, even though he missed 6 games with concussion last year. I think you're going to see him take his game up to another level. The key with him, of course, is to stay healthy. That's going to be number one for him because they really are counting on him. And most of the time, they are not going to be playing 3 wides. They're going to be playing in 2 wides. And a lot of those times, he's going to be the second one with Jerry Jeudy. So he's definitely somebody to watch. And I think that these are things to watch in camp. Can the quarterbacks get the ball to these top pass catchers? And that will go a long way towards deciding who's going to be the week 1 starter.
Mary Kay Cabot, as always, we appreciate your perspective. We'll be reading you every day, especially now, man. We expect everything out of you when we turn to cleveland.com. And so, Mary Kay, you've always got all the great information. And so we are looking forward to seeing what you have over camp and then as we get ready for the season. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kay.
Thank you, guys.